Good morning. So I've got a little time before I start work today, so I'm going to go ahead and get a pork roast put into the crock pot for dinner tonight just to help myself out later. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got a nice, probably about a 4 pound, 3 pound, 4 pound. That's about a 4 pound pork roast that I'm just going to season up here real quick. We're just going to do it very simply because I'm not quite sure what I want to make with this yet. So I'm going to put just a little bit of salt, pepper, lots of good pepper, garlic powder, pretty thick cut of meat so it can handle quite a bit of the seasoning on top of it. A little onion powder. And now you know that we've got to have a little cayenne. We're going to lightly sprinkle that on top as well. Now, if you know that what you're going to make out of this, if you're planning to make a barbecue pork sandwich or something of that nature, you can go ahead and when you stick this into your crock pot, you can always add some barbecue sauce on top of it instead of the water that I'm going to put in it now. Now, this got this big fat cap here, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut that off because I don't want all that fat getting into staying in my crock pot and cooking all in it. Now, you wouldn't want to take the fat cap off of it if you were going to smoke it in a smoker or something like that. But because I'm doing this in a crock pot, I don't want it to sit there in all of that fat as it's cooking. A little bit more. Now, that being said, fat's where flavor is at too. So I'm not removing all of it. And then we're just going to come through and season this other side as well. Just all the same seasonings. Just going to push that right into that meat. And this is how simple making a pork roast in the crock pot is. We're going to bring our crock pot around, fat cap up. We're just going to stick it in our crock pot. Just going to push it down in there. A little bit of liquid. I'm just using a little water. Got about a 3/4 of a cup there. Lid on. Plug it in and turn it on. You can cook this on high for about 4 to 6 hours, or you can cook it on slow or low for about 8 to 10 hours. So that way, if you go into the office, you can set this up in the morning before you leave the house, turn it on low. When you get home, your house is going to smell amazing, and dinner is almost done. So we'll come back once this is finished. Okay, it's been about 8 hours now, and this is done. I'm just going to take that lid off, and we're just going to take this out, and just set it over here onto my plate. Oh, look at that, just falling right apart. That's when you know it's going to be delicious. We're just going to set that up here on the plate, and we're going to get this shredded up. All right, so with this, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of, any little bits of fat, because you know a pork roast does have fat throughout, we're going to get rid of that. And then we're just going to shred this right on up. Look at that. It just falls apart. I talked to Frank. I think he actually has decided that he wants to have his on a sandwich instead of on a taco tonight. So we're still going to make that slaw, but he wants to have it as a sandwich, so we'll do that. You can serve this any way that you want to. It freezes very well so that you can just reheat it later on whenever you want another quick meal, especially if you know, if pork roasts are on sale, then you can always pick up a nice large roast. Look at that. Delicious. And eat part of it and put the rest into the freezer. You could take it to your next campsite, put it in your crock pot again with some barbecue sauce, and you've got dinner. Okay, so now we're going to just cover this pork with a little bit of foil just to keep that warm while we make our slaw. And we'll just set that right back here. All right, over there. So I've got a head of cabbage here, and we're just going to cut off a cheek of that. It's just Frank and I, so we don't need to make a huge recipe of the slaw. There's something about just a crisp coleslaw on top of a pork sandwich. The good thing about lightly seasoning your pork when you make it in the crock pot, as we did this morning, is that there's so many things that you can make with that pork. So it makes it very versatile, to where if you strictly put just the barbecue sauce on top of it to season it, that is going to limit what you can do with it, as far as like if you wanted to make a taco with it, instead of having a pork sandwich or a pork wrap. But by lightly seasoning, you can use it in anything that you want to. You can add the barbecue sauce later. If you did decide that you wanted to make barbecue sandwiches or something, you can always add it then. All right, so we've got our coleslaw, or cabbage, all cut up here. And so I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and put our jalapeno in there. Now this is kind of a spicy slaw. We'll put about a half of a jalapeno in there, because we're going to have a little bit of that Mexican flair to it a little bit with the cilantro, jalapeno, the lime. It just makes it a very refreshing slaw. And so I'm just going to cut this into some tiny little pieces here. There we go. And we'll just put that right into the bowl. There we go. And then I've got my cilantro. I washed this up just a few minutes ago. I picked this yesterday from out in my garden. My cilantro is finally producing enough that I can go ahead and start cutting it now. Now, if you don't like cilantro, just go ahead and leave it out. It's perfectly fine. It'll be just as good. You could just make a traditional coleslaw as well with your mayonnaise and your apple cider vinegar, your little touch of sugar, salt, and pepper, and make it up a traditional way if you'd like. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and make our dressing. And we're just going to put in some mayonnaise. We'll probably put maybe about a half a cup there. We're going to put in a touch of honey to kind of give it a little sweetness. Just a little. Maybe a teaspoon there. A little cayenne for a little extra kick. And then we've got black pepper. And we've got some salt. And then now we're just going to give our lime a quick little roll. We're going to cut right down. And since I don't have a fork, let's use my little whisk here that we're going to use anyway to get our juice out. Okay, a whisk is not the best option. There we go. All right, so now let's go ahead and just give this a little whisk. And let's give it a little taste. I think it actually could use a little bit more lime. So let me just grab a fork here. And let's get some more of that juice out of here. Forks always give you so much juice out of these. It's just the way that it, I don't know, the way that it works with it, that it tends to give you a lot more juice. There we go. So that's got a nice consistency to it. Another little taste. That's good. Okay. So we're just going to pour this right on top of our slaw. Now I don't like my slaw heavily dressed, because what will happen is as your dressing sits on that cabbage, the cabbage will start releasing juices, and so it will actually thin out your dressing a little bit more. And if you overdress it, it just really makes it too watery, in my opinion, on that. So we're just going to give this a quick stir up here. Now, if you wanted to, and you had the time in the morning to be able to go ahead and make your slaw up, you know, when you start your roast in the crock pot, you can always do that. And then everything is ready when you get home, and all you have to do is assemble. So you could go take a nice long bubble bath before everybody else gets home wanting to eat. All right, that looks perfect. Look at the way that that's dressed. That looks wonderful. Okay, so let's just give a quick taste of it all together now. That's really tasty. All right, so let me just clean up and we'll go ahead and put our sandwiches together and have dinner. So now it's time to assemble. Look at that beautiful, juicy, soft, tender pork and our fantastic light and fresh coleslaw. I can't wait for dinner. All right, so we're going to start building our sandwich. We'll just set that to the side. We're going to put a little of this pork on here. We'll just go ahead and push that right on down. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's just add our slaw right on top. Oh, that's going to be so good. We'll put a little barbecue sauce on top. We've been loving the Kinder's hot honey. It's a fan favorite in this house. Does that not look delicious? Put that little lid right on top. Look at that. You can see that pork just glistening. Messy or not, here I come. Let's give this a little taste here. Took way too big of a bite. That is delicious. So I hope you decide to make a quick make-ahead dinner by putting a pork roast into your crock pot in the morning before you go to work. When you come home, it's already cooked. All you have to do is put together that slaw and top it off with a bun. Fantastic. I hope you have a good evening. Give us a like and a subscribe if you want to see more content. Bye, y'all.